evening, Chairman. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to tonight's debate. My name is Elise Raptis, and I am the chairman, and Hamish Fleming is the timekeeper. The adjudicators are Miss Admiral, Mr. Brunner, and Mr. Savory. The topic for this debate is that we should follow Finland and phase out of cursive writing. The affirmative team is seated from my right, is from Prince Alfred College, and the negative team is seated to my left, is from St. John's Grammar School. The speaking time for this debate is 4 minutes. A single warning bell will sound at 1 minute before the speaking time, and a double bell will sound at the speaking time, and a continuous bell may be rung 30 seconds after the speaking time. In which case the speaker must sit down immediately. Please ensure all electronic devices are switched off, and I now declare this debate open and call upon the first affirmative speaker, Yash Giri.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that we should follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in schools. We define we as being Australia, follow being do the same as, Finland being a Scandinavian country, phase out being to discontinue something by not making it compulsory, cursive writing being joined up writing done by hand with writing implements and aids, and schools being Australian primary and secondary educational institutions. So the topic is saying that the learning of cursive writing should not be compulsory in Australian schools and should be replaced with computer lessons, like what Finland has done. We, the affirmative team, believe that this statement is true. Today, as first speaker, I'll be talking to you about how cursive handwriting lessons waste school time, as students already know how to write, how students should be learning about digital means of communication instead, and how touch typing skills are a prerequisite for employment. Our second speaker will be talking about how we are moving into a technological society, and how dyslexic children are left behind with cursive writing. And our third speaker will rebut and sum up our team case. First of all, cursive handwriting lessons are a waste of school time, as students already know how to write. According to the Australian Department of Education's Handwriting Guidelines, revised August 2014, in years 4 to 7, teachers are required to teach cursive handwriting for between 35 and 40 minutes per day. But prior to year 4, students are taught cursive handwriting, block-lettered handwriting, for 40 minutes per day. So if students already know how to write prior to year 4, why should they be taught cursive handwriting, an unnecessary and fancy form of handwriting? Furthermore, the amount of time spent learning cursive handwriting could instead be spent learning more important skills affiliated with information technology, the relevant and not to mention more predominant form of communication in this age. According to the Australian Communications and Media Authority, in their 2012 to 2013 communications report, 62% of adult Australians use 5 or more digital communications devices, and 31% of children owned a mobile phone, a 5% increase from the previous year. Now this comes at a time when handwritten forms of communication are declining. So cursive handwriting is currently an obsolete form of communication, while digital forms of communication are the norm today. So education should evolve to meet the needs of today's, not yesterday's society. That's why we should follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in schools. Finally, fast and error-free touch typing skills are necessary for gaining employment these days. As computers are prevalent in the workplace, many employers in a variety of fields are requiring candidates to type up to 50 words, a minimum of 50 words per minute, just to be considered for an offer, and professional jobs, such as doctoring and lawyering, are requiring upwards of 70 words per minute. A recent 2014 survey conducted by Microsoft on touch typing and employment showed that 40% of managers believe that the inability of their candidates to touch type is detrimental to the productivity of their companies. So we should follow Finland and replace the useless art of cursive handwriting with touch typing classes, as it would benefit the job prospects of future generations in an ever-changing society where fast touch typing skills are now a prerequisite for employment. In conclusion, Mr. Chairman,
I call upon the first negative speaker, Alex Mathers.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Chairman and Timekeeper. The topic for tonight's debate is that we should follow Finland and phase out cursive writings for schools. My name is Alex Mathers and I shall be the first speaker of the negative team this evening. We disagree with some of the definitions given by the affirmative team. We define we as the English-speaking nations of the world, and in particular Australia. We define phase out as to stop the continuation of cursive lessons gradually, and cursive writing as any form of formalised linked script. And now I shall rebut the opposition's arguments. The first speaker of the affirmative team has attempted to point out that cursive is a fancy waste of time. This is wrong because, as our second speaker Ben shall point out, cursive has many benefits to child's early education. They have also tried to tell you that people need to learn keyboard skills. We, the affirmative, certainly agree that keyboard skills are essential to today's society, but cursive, as we shall point out, is also still essential. But now to my points. The first of which concerns we need skills for creative personal communication as well as school and business communication. This is because, in today's society, with its sameness and unanimity, the teaching of cursive in its intricateness and beauty gives people a personalised and individual way of communication with one another. Cursive gives them a way to write with an individual creativity and flair. A creativity and flair that does not come with basic print or the sameness of typing. A prominent example of this is cards. A card done personally with beautiful or unique handwriting on it would be far more desired than the usual commercial bland cards. In fact, a report by the BBC showed that sales of fountain pens, devices used almost exclusively for the application of cursive, are on the rise. This just goes to show that people are craving more creative, personal ways of communication with each other. Yes, teaching children other communication methods such as basic print or typing is important in today's society, yet these communication methods are not the only important way of communication. Our brain should be multi-skilled. We should be able to write in a number of ways. The removal of cursive writing would only contribute to the decline of individuality and creativity. My second point is about the fact that by phasing out cursive writing in our society, we will be left with a generation of adults unable to write a signature that is complicated enough to be as forge-proof as possible. Heidi Harrelson, a graphologist from Tuscan, has found that the less complex the handwriting, the easier it is to forge, and that those who are not taught cursive at an early age are at a severe disadvantage. Signatures are nearly always required for people working with or signing legal documents. And the removal of cursive would make these contracts and documents so much more insecure. In fact, Bruce Schneider, an author and board member of the Electronic Frontier Foundation, has recently released an article about how the possible decline in cursive writing could lead to an increase in forgery. In this article, he states that the intricate detail and personality shown in a signature, signed in cursive, makes the signature much harder to copy than a name signed in print. By removing cursive from our schools, we would be leaving a new generation at an even greater risk of forgery. Is this what we want? No, it is not. It is only reasonable then to keep cursive. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, it could not be any more blatantly obvious that we must keep cursive because people need a way in which to communicate personally and creatively with one another. As well as this, the removal of cursive could leave a generation of people at greater risk of forgery, an act that should not be assisted in any way. Therefore, one can only conclude that we should most certainly not follow Finland and phase out cursive writing. And remember, cursive is a key foundational skill of the 21st century, so we must keep cursive. It's just right.
I call upon the second affirmative speaker, Sparsh Tawari.
Good afternoon, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for our debate is that we should follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in schools. We, the affirmative team, believe that this statement is true. Our first speaker has already explained how learning to handwrite wastes valuable lesson time, and how learning to handwrite enables people to be proficient in information technology. The first speaker of the affirmative team, the negative team, has a tie to tell you that we agree that that handwriting allows for creativity. It is true that handwriting may allow for creativity, but this point is irrelevant, as we are saying that cursive does not have its benefits, but rather that we are spending too much time on cursive, rather than typing and other newer and faster means of communication. He also said that cursive makes signatures safe and forgery preventable. This is incorrect, as we are moving to the digital age, where we are using PIN numbers, much safer. He also said that he disagrees with our definition. We agree with the defined definition and are happy to comply with it. My first point is how we are moving into a digital age, where to write in cursive is no longer required. The rise of technology in recent years has changed how we work and communicate. This year, Australia's Board of Education revealed on the Australian Broadcasting Corporation that learning to type is more relevant in everyday life. We are growing up in a technological society where letters or articles have given way to typed emails, texts, or documents. A British study undertaken in 2012 that surveyed 2,000 people reports on Australian website The Ages that 1/3 of respondents revealed that they had not properly written anything in cursive for the past 6 months, revealing that cursive is outdated. Clearly, the teaching of cursive handwriting is no longer relevant in the digital age. Furthermore, This is clearly exploited in the prospect that exams are going online. Australia's largest assessment, NAPLAN, will be going online from next year, according to ABC World News in June 2015. Moreover, the use of cursive is no longer necessary. The signature in idiomatic proof of one's signature identity was no longer needed from August last year, after being replaced by PIN numbers, revealing that cursive is outdated. My second point is how children with dyslexia find it hard to cope with cursive. According to the Melbourne Declaration Act of Educational Goals, alongside the No Children Left Behind Act of 2001, no child, regardless of learning issues, should not learn the same as others. According to Carl Redford, education editor of Yale University, children and adults who are dyslexics have inherent difficulties with letter formation in cursive. Learning to write cursive can often separate dyslexics from other students and can leave them feeling isolated or different, a way that no student deserves to feel. Moreover, by writing in cursive, dyslexics often leave out information crucial for teachers to assess their learning. This is not because they don't know the material, because to write in cursive can often be time-consuming and difficult for them. Thus, a dyslexic's expression is constricted and does not accurately represent his or her true ability to showcase his thinking, learning, or creativity. Phasing out cursive is a win for dyslexics and will help to level out the academic playing field. So in conclusion, Madam Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, we, the affirmative team, believe that we should phase out cursive because we are moving into a digital age and because dyslexic students find it hard to cope with cursive.
I now call upon the second negative speaker, Ben Ransom.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Ben Ransom, and I'm the second speaker for the negative team. The topic for our debate this evening is that we should follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in schools. However, we, being the negative team, strongly believe that we should not follow Finland and phase out cursive writing. Before I start, I would first like to point out the flaws in the opposition team's arguments. The first speaker has tried to tell you that cursive writing takes up too much time. Cursive writing supports people with dyslexia and brain injury sufferers, who take up a large percent of our population. It supports them because it uses hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills, and deeper thinking. This is definitely not a waste of time. The first speaker has also tried to tell you that employees have to type rather than cursive write. This is true, but cursive writing supplies employees with life skills that they will need in the field, such as spatial awareness, hand and finger dexterity, and brain development. They also need cursive writing to sign things such as legal documents. The second speaker has tried to tell you that dyslexic students are left behind with cursive writing. This is completely false, because cursive writing actually helps dyslexic students. It provides them with hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills, and more critical thinking. Cursive letters also look quite different and are drawn in different ways, so they're easier to tell apart for dyslexic people. Today, I'll be talking to you about the many learning benefits and skills that cursive writing offers for students. Suzanne Asherson, an occupational therapist at the Beverly Hills School District in California, says that cursive writing has shown to improve brain development in areas of thinking, language, and working memory, something which is absent from print writing and typing. Psychologists and neuroscientists such as Professor Amy Bastian from the Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore have concluded from their studies the importance of handwriting in improving brain activation and stimulating the learning process. Its loss will have detrimental effects on the ability of future generations to read and write. This is why it is vital that we keep teaching cursive writing in schools. Professor Amy Bastian's research has also indicated that learning to write in cursive further improves students' motor and visual skills, hand-to-eye coordination, spatial awareness, hand and finger dexterity, cognitive function, and brain development. All of these life skills are absolutely essential for young students, and phasing out cursive writing will prevent these skills from being adapted. My second point is that cursive is easier for dyslexic students and brain injury sufferers and helps them to remember. Dyslexia affects reading, spelling, and speaking, and is thought to be one of the most common language-based learning disabilities. 70 to 80% of people with reading difficulties are likely to have some form of dyslexia. It is estimated that between 5 to 10% of the population have dyslexia, but this number can also be as high as 17%. However, Marilyn Zechner, a language specialist at the Atlantic Seaboard Dyslexia Educational Center in Rockville, says from experience that cursive has been shown to help dyslexic students with the decoding process because it integrates hand-eye coordination, fine motor skills, deep thinking, and other brain and memory functions. In print writing, various letters such as the letter B and D look quite similar. However, cursive letters are quite different, which therefore makes it easier for people with dyslexia to tell them apart. Maria Konnikova, a journalist for the New York Times, has also reported that cursive benefits brain injury sufferers. She says that some brain injury sufferers lose the ability to read and write. However, their ability to comprehend cursive remains. So, in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, it is absolutely crucial that we do not follow Finland and phase out cursive writing because of the many life skills and benefits it gives students, and it helps brain and injury sufferers. Thank you.
I now call upon the third affirmative speaker, Saran Pereira.
Good afternoon, Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen. We should follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in schools. Before I start, to some key flaws in the opposition's case. The first speaker said writing is creative, and therefore we should spend time on cursive. Writing and reading are tools, but the final result is the knowledge and wisdom we gain. The style of teaching and learning is changing. We should be careful that we are not spending far too much time on the tool rather than the final goal. It takes many hours to perfect cursive writing. It may be beneficial to those hours instead to develop critical thinking, well-being, and other progressive qualities required for the future. The second negative speaker stated that cursive writing represents individuality and creativity. This is wrong because there are many other ways to show creativity, including drawing, playing, and even music. However, if students do want to learn cursive to be creative, they can simply learn it outside of school through private classes. The first speaker and also the second speaker's rebuttal said that people will need cursive in order to sign their names. There are three flaws to this argument. Firstly, from August 1st, 2014, PIN will replace signatures on credit and debit card purchases made in person, therefore meaning that people won't need a signature. Secondly, signatures are not actually a true form of cursive. Technically, a signature can be anything, as long as it is reproduced. So usually a scribble that resembles a name or word. Even if signatures had to be cursive, or some were cursive, why do school children have to spend hours learning on it? It would potentially take only a few minutes to make a signature, and a few days to memorize it. This point is incorrect, and even if it is true of the slightest chances, it needs hours of practice and learning, therefore should not be done at school. Also, a PIN number, usually 8 to 10 digits, has 10,000 possibilities, while signatures can be forged. The first speaker also said that cursive looks good and has its flair. Cursive only looks good if it's done slowly and needs a lot of practice. If not, it is regarded as more of a scribble, which is why the phrase "print please" is often used. When the word practice, it means hours and hours of practice, which may be fine when you're old, but is clearly affecting learning time if done at school. The second speaker said it creates better brain functioning and other things. Well, countless activities such as pick-up objects, manipulation games such as pick-up sticks, Play-Doh, construction, and Lego all work to coordinate the use of part of these brains as just as sufficient. The second speaker stated that cursive had benefits to children's educations. This is wrong because cursive writing, as our second speaker highlighted, can be disruptive and not beneficial for dyslexics. Our first speaker, Yash, highlighted 3 key points. Firstly, he said that school time is valuable and needs to be optimized. And also, as we are teaching children block writing, they do not need to learn cursive. Secondly, schools should teach how to utilize digital means of communication. Finally, he argued the importance of touch typing as an essential skill. Our second speaker's speech emphasized 2 further points. Firstly, technology is moving forward at an incredible pace. The style of learning yesteryear has to adapt to keep abreast of changes. Children need to be able to access, collect, and process. Finally, people with dyslexia will greatly benefit by phasing out cursive writing. Students with dyslexia will have the freedom to write without the pressure of cursive, which will open their world to learning and growth, which is what we need from education. So, Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen, in conclusion, we should follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in schools.
I now call upon the third negative speaker, Caitlin Howlett.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. The topic for tonight's debate is that we should follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in schools. We, the negative team, believe this statement to be false. The first affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that cursive handwriting is a waste of time as everyone is using digital methods of communication. However, it is still important that people are able to read historical documents and letters that connect them to their past family. We believe that the benefits that learning cursive has on an individual, as our second speaker has mentioned, are definitely worth spending time on. What about signatures? People sign things nearly every day, and signing in cursive makes it harder for people to forge. As not everyone can afford a computer and technology does fail sometimes, cursive writing allows these people to communicate quicker by hand as the pen is not lifted as frequently as with print. The second affirmative speaker has tried to tell you that we're in the digital age, cursive is not necessary. However, there are certain situations where handwriting is imperative, such as writing your signature and filling in basic legal documents. And writing in cursive is quicker than print because the pen doesn't leave the pages often. Also, our first speaker, Alex, has spoken about how printed letters and signatures can be forged more easily than cursive handwriting. He also said that dyslexic students will be less behind by phasing out cursive. However, as our second speaker, Ben, has stated, cursive handwriting is easier for dyslexic students than print, as certain letters, such as B and D, look quite similar in print, whereas they are considerably different in cursive. And because students will still have to learn to write in print if they don't learn in cursive, so why not write in the best way that is best for dyslexic students? He also said that cursive is time-consuming. However, students in Finland still have to learn to write by hand, and cursive is the quickest method of writing than print, as the pen doesn't leave the pages regularly. The third affirmative speaker has said that there are other ways of showing creativity, and if they want to learn cursive, then they can learn it outside of school. However, not everyone can afford tutoring for music and sport and cursive lessons. Now onto my summary. Our first speaker, Alex, spoke to you about how cursive handwriting is useful for creativity and communication. Cursive handwriting allows students to write with a creativity and flair that cannot be achieved by basic printing. Alex gave an example of a personalised gift or greeting card with intricate handwriting and how the effect it can have and how important it is to be able to communicate our ideas through various styles of writing. Alex also covered that by phasing out cursive handwriting in our society, people will be unable to write a signature that is complicated enough to be forge-proof. This argument was supported by Miss Harrelson, a graphologist in Tucson, and Bruce Shiner, a board member of the Electronic Frontier Foundation. This is why we should not follow Finland in phasing out cursive writing in schools. Our second speaker, Ben, spoke to you about the various skills and learning benefits achieved by learning cursive handwriting, which he supported by research performed by Suzanne Asherson and neuroscientist Professor Amy Baston. Ben also spoke about how language specialists such as Marilyn Zechner have concluded from their studies that cursive handwriting is actually easier for students with dyslexia to learn, and how brain injury sufferers retain their knowledge of cursive handwriting more than they do in print. So in conclusion, ladies and gentlemen, we, the negative team, believe that we should not follow Finland and phase out cursive writing in school because it decreases forgery risk, is useful for creativity and communication, is associated with many learning benefits, and is ideal for students with dyslexia or brain injuries. We need to remember, cursive is a key foundational skill for the 21st century. Keep cursive, it's right.